Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the on-track series video for the American Tier 10 Tech Tree Light Tank, the XM551 Sheridan. And if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the on-track series video for the Sheridan. If you've never seen the on-track series before, it's where we show you the line from Tier 5 up to Tier 10, so you can see what the line plays like, see what the setups are for those vehicles, just get the bit of information about the statistics of those tanks as well, and you can just see how the whole line generally operates, giving you that option to look at the vehicle and the line as you want to go grind it. So we're starting off here at the little Tier 5, the old but gold Chaffee. Chaffee's lovely. It's a great little light tank at Tier 5, full of nostalgia. I really always enjoyed this vehicle. The gun's a bit naff, but generally the mobility, the view range, the camo on this vehicle is pretty damn nice. And you can have some pretty damn solid games with this little Chaffee. So the Chaffee, it's got a 62 km/h top speed with a 21 km/h reverse speed, 500 horsepower engine, which is 27.19 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you fly up to that 62 km/h very, very easily. 20% internal fire chance is on the high end of fire chances as well, which means this thing does like getting set on fire. 46 degrees a second on the hull traverse means that this tank does turn very, very quickly on its tracks, and it helps to make this tank feel really nice and maneuverable. Ground resistances don't hold the tank back whatsoever. 271 metres of still concealment is really, really nice camouflage to have at Tier 5. It means you can stay unspotted for so long and in so many different situations, especially at a tier where view range is fairly low comparatively across the board. 471 metres of view range as well helps you to spot for yourself really, really easily and have those good scouting light tanky games that you want to be having in the Chaffee, where you can spot for your team and get some assistance damage. 53.19 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed with the build that I run is actually faster than the tracks, and that is lovely as well. It helps you get this gun on target, meaning that you can snap shots left, right and centre that little bit easier, as it's quicker to get the turret on target than turn the tracks. 0.99 accuracy during rotation, with a 2.45 accuracy during movement is not that great, and it means that the aim circle blooms out quite a bit on this tank. But you've got a 1.44 second aim time, which is absolutely incredible, and it means this gun aims in super duper quickly, and you're ready to get the damage flowing super quickly as well for the Chaffee, which is a lovely thing for it. 10 degrees of gun depression means you're extremely flexible on the ridgeline, as you're seeing right here on Cliff. With a 0.35 accuracy at 100 metres, this gun can be derpy. And that's one thing is that can be a bit pain for the Chaffee, is the fact that this gun can be a bit derpy at times. So do be careful of it when you are firing it. You've got a 3.48 second reload, which is nearly 1900 DPM, which is pretty decent for a little Tier 5 light tank. Means you can farm up pretty quickly as well. And you'll be surprised at how fast the damage does rack up with the Chaffee. 96mm of penetration on the standard AP is poor. It's very, very poor. With 143 penetration on the premium APCR, that's decent enough to go through most of the vehicles you're going to face. It still will struggle with quite a few Tier 7s, and that's why I just load full gold on this tank, as you're seeing here, because that standard penetration sucks, and the amount of Tier 7 games you used to get, especially in the Chaffee, meant that you struggled to pen anything, and even some of the Tier 6, or even a lot of the Tier 6 heavy tanks, you just couldn't pen. So if you'll find the 143 pen, at least you had a chance to go through them, which is why I do it, because it was the only way to feel bearable with the gun. You've got 619 metres a second shell velocity on the standard AP, with 869 metres a second shell velocity on the premium APCR. That means that the shell velocity is pretty poor and helps to make this gun feel that little bit derpy. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on the Chaffee? Well, I run the same crew as I run all the way up the line: Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Muffled Shot, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and the Optics, Vents, and Camouflage Net. Optics and Vents to be able to get the best out of the reload, the view range, everything about this vehicle. All three gun perks, because this gun can be a bit of a pooey at times. And the Camouflage Net with the Camouflage Expertise and Muffled Shot to get the best out of the camo on the light tank, which is always what you want to be doing on most light tanks too, which is lovely for the Chaffee. And like I say, the Chaffee is just generally a pretty beautiful vehicle to play, and it's a pretty standard, bog standard light tank really at Tier 5. And like I say, I run that same crew all the way up the line as well. The equipment loadouts do change, like they do here on the T37, but we'll get to that. So the T37, my first love of a light tank at Tier 6. Oh boy, I used to love this vehicle so much. And that's because it was a very, very enjoyable light tank, because you've got good mobility, you've got pretty decent camo, You've got a pretty good gun. It's just the way that the American light tanks are. And that is that they are just generally pretty solid all-round light tanks. They don't have the best camo in the universe. They don't have the best DPM in the universe. They have pretty good view range, though. Generally, this is pretty good across the board for them. And this T-37 is just an absolutely solid little Tier 6 light tank that was very, very enjoyable to play. And it was actually my first 3-mark as well, this little tank. It was the first tank that I ever 3-marked, and I just loved playing this tank. It was great. Because I felt like I could be that scout. I felt like I could still do damage because the gun was lovely. And I didn't get outspotted that easily in this tank, although the camo still, like I say, is quite a big light tank, so the camo isn't as good as quite a few other light tanks, but you can still make the most of it. So, the T-37, it's got a 65 km/h top speed with the build that I run, a 22 km/h reverse speed, 650 horsepower engine, which is 27.8 horsepower per ton ratio, which means, again, you're a very, very mobile light tank. You will fly up to that top speed really easily. 20% internal fire chance, yeah, if you get hit in the engine, this thing does like getting set on fire, so do be careful of that. 50 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means this tank does turn very quickly on its tracks, and it can outmaneuver quite a few vehicles because of that. Ground resistances don't hold this tank back whatsoever. They are fantastic. 282 meters of steel concealment. Again, it's not the best light tank camo in the universe, but it's still good enough that you can take some bush locations, stay unspotted, and use your great view range at 486 meters of view range for a Tier 6 light tank to be able to spot for yourself and get some good assistance damage, like we've tried to do here on Live Oaks. We've got a 52.13 degree a second turret rotation speed, which again is faster than the tracks. It means this turret does turn very, very quickly. A 0.68 accuracy during rotation with a 1.33 accuracy during movement is very, very good, and it means that the aim circle doesn't bloom out that much at all, meaning you can snap shots left, right, and centre, and you can hit a lot of shots on the move in the T-37 quite easily too, because that accuracy during rotation and movement is just that good. We have had to help it get there with the gun stabilizer, but it's still very, very nice in general. You got a 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters again, which is pretty damn accurate. 1.57 second aim time as well means this gun does aim in supremely quickly, and means you can get your gun on target and fire away very fast. Which means if you wanted to drop the gun stabilizer, you could quite easily, because while your aim circle will become massive and it will become a lot harder to hit shots on the move, you will end up being able to still fire very, very quickly when you come to a stop and aim the gun, because the aim time is just that nice. 9 degrees of gun depression is also very flexible on a ridgeline for the T-37, which makes it pretty nice to fight on those ridgelines for this tank, again adding to that flexibility that this tank has. A 2.92 second reload, which is 2.3, nearly 2.4k DPM, is also pretty damn nice DPM to be able to farm away with in the T-37. 126 pen on the standard AP with 160 pen on the premium APCR means that you will pen most vehicles you're going to face. The 160 pen can struggle against quite a few tier 8 tanks, but still it's not the worst penetration in the universe, and if you get around the sides and rear of vehicles, even with the APCR, you'll be able to go through them quite nicely. 975 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP is a little bit below average, meaning you do have to give a decent amount of lead at distance to be able to hit your shots. But if you fire the 1,250 meters a second shell velocity APCR rounds, you don't have to give too much lead at distance, and it can be very, very nice indeed in the way that the gun handling feels. And as you can see, we run optics, the gun stabilizer, and camo net. Camo net to get the best camo I can get out of this vehicle. The gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, with the optics to be able to spot for myself with the T-37 and get those good assistance damage games. But it is a very, very nice tank in general to play the T-37. And as you saw in that game, you can get some good spotting damage games and get a decent amount of damage out as well. And it will forever be one of my loves to play the T-37, just because of all the nostalgia around it and the fact that, you know, it was the first tank I ever 3-marked. It was a tank that I just loved playing, and yeah, you can't go wrong really with the T-37. And that's why the premium version, the Rover, is also really, really nice in general to pick up and play. So now we're on to the Tier 7, which is the T71 CMCD. Now this is one of those vehicles that didn't really exist back in the day, because when light tanks only went up to Tier 8, the Tier 7 for this line was the Bulldog. And then the tier 8 was the T49, and this tank didn't exist as there was only the T71DA, which is the auto-loading variant in the T57 Heavy line, that did exist. But they split it off. This tank became a thing when they added the tier 10s, and it's a lot of fun to play. It is a really, really solid light tank. Once again, it's got very good mobility, it's got very good view range, decent camo, great gun. It's just generally a great all-round light tank to be able to enjoy playing through. So the T71 CMCD, it's got a 68 km/h top speed, 25 km/h reverse speed, 470 horsepower engine, which is 27.68 horsepower per ton ratio, which once again means this tank flies up to its top speed very, very easily, with ground resistances that don't hold it back whatsoever. 20% internal fire chance, once again, just like the rest of the American light tanks. If they get hit in the engine, they tend to set on fire, so you just really have to be careful about being shot in the back end. 65 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means this tank turns very, very fast on its tracks, and I'm not kidding, it makes it a bit of a pain to drive at times because of how fast this tank turns on its tracks. You've got 280 meters of still concealment, which is nice. Again, it helps it to stay unspotted in quite a few situations. 499 meters of view range as well, helps you spot for yourself really, really well, and means you can get those big assistance damage games because you can devalue people's camos and spot them at better distances. You've got 49.96 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed as well, which means it is way slower than the tracks, so be careful of that when you play your CMCD. You're going to see that in this replay. When you turn to the left and right, your turret just does not keep up with it whatsoever. You've got a 1.01 accuracy during rotation with a 2.09 accuracy during movement, and again, that is not great at all. It means the aim circle does bloom out quite a bit, and you have a 1.75 second aim time, which means it does aim in pretty quickly though, which can be nice. 10 degrees of gun depression, just like the rest of the line, is really, well, I say just like the rest of the line, the T37 has 9, but you get my point. Really flexible gun depression, just like the rest of the line. Meaning you can be very, very good on the ridgeline, and in a position like you're seeing here, it can be very, very nice to be able to play the T71 CMCD. 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters. Now, this gun can derp shots left, right, and center, but 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters is actually pretty accurate, and it should, when it's fully aimed, hit a lot of shots. But like I said, this gun occasionally does feel derpy, which is annoying. A 3.14 second reload is 2.8k DPM, which is absolutely fantastic on the T71 CMD. Absolutely fantastic DPM on this tank. It means, again, you shred vehicles so quickly, and damage does just rack up very fast. 145 pen on the standard APDS rounds, with 210 pen on the premium heat rounds, means that you generally go through most vehicles you're going to face, except for some maybe heavily armoured tier 9s, but for the most part you won't struggle with that penetration, and then you can just farm up people with the great DPM, as you're seeing here against that Citadel Tiger. 1219 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APDS rounds as well is absolutely fantastic. That velocity is great, meaning you don't have to give too much lead at distance to be able to hit your shots, and it can make this gun feel very nice indeed in terms of its accuracy. But beware that if you load the heat rounds, the shell velocity is that little bit worse at 975 meters a second shell velocity, and that means you have to give a wee bit more lead to be able to actually hit your shots in the CMCD. But yeah, on the whole, like I say, I really enjoy the CMCD. I think it's a damn solid light tank. It's one that I should probably go back and 3-mark at some. That was a great barrel roll. Great barrel roll. But yeah, I should go back and 3-mark this at some point because it is a lot of fun. But in terms of equipment, by the way, I run the advanced loader, the camo net and optics. The camo net to get the 280 meters of still concealment, with the optics to be able to get the 499 meters of view range, and the advanced loader to make the best out of that DPM, because that DPM is pretty phenomenal on this vehicle. So that's why we run that, as opposed to doing what we did on the T37, where we sacrificed a bit of the DPM to make sure that the gun handling was really, really nice. Now, if the gun handling does annoy you on this vehicle, you could quite easily just do the same as we did on the T37, and drop the advanced loader to go for the gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during movement and rotation down as low as possible so that the aim circle doesn't bloom out much at all. It's really down to you and how you want to feel comfortable playing the vehicle. And the reason that I've done that on something like the T37 is because that I always felt comfortable with the DPM that I got on the T37 pre-6.0 before the advanced reload perk was a thing. So instead of just making it fire faster, I could just make the gun generally better as well. So, In this game here in the T71 CMCD, we're up to 2.7k damage with 4.2k assistance damage. And that's because we've played very aggressive scouting game where we've tried to keep as much of the enemy team lit up as possible, keep ourselves in flanked positions to keep the gun firing. We only really made one big mistake, and that was when we actually drove out in front of the Ramatar Balsig earlier on. When I saw him around the corner in third person, I actually thought he was looking the other way and was climbing the hill, and I thought I'd caught him out, but it wasn't to be the case, and sadly for me, he ended up putting a big shot in, and just there as well, we get very unlucky as we RBRT the shot into the Panzerjäger. It bounced on a Panzerjäger, and he shut us down. Finished the game with 3 kills, 2.7k damage, the 4k assist, the ace tanker, the 2.3k base XP. Fantastic game for the CMCD, which is an absolutely solid tier 7 light tank that you can have a lot of fun playing generally. So now we're on to the tier 8, which is the M41 Walker Bulldog. Now I run the same equipment setup as I ran on the T71 CMCD for this vehicle, so the same equipment setup, the same crew setup as all the way up the line. And with the Bulldog, you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of Bulldogs in general, and this vehicle is actually probably the worst out of all the Bulldogs, I'd say. It's one of those tanks where it is a real jack of all trades. It can't really do anything magnificently, but it doesn't do anything too badly. You can have pretty damn nice solid games with this. The one thing that it is very, very good at is spotting, and that's because the view range is absolutely immense. But generally it does like getting spotted as well, which can be really frustrating, and you'll see that a fair bit in this game. But if you use your view range wisely, and the decent camo that you do have, you can have some mega spotting games. So in the M41 Walker Bulldog, we have a 68 km/h top speed with a 24 km/h reverse speed, 800 horsepower engine, which is 34.05 horsepower per ton ratio. Which means, once again, this tank is exceptionally mobile. It is very, very mobile. It gets to its top speed really easily. If you were to make the top speed better with something like the traction system, you would hit it very easily. 20% internal fire chance, same as it is all the way up the line near enough. Again, gets set on fire quite easily if you get shot in the engine. 56 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means this tank does turn very quickly on its tracks. With a 54.3 degree a second turret rotation speed, the turret nearly keeps up with the tracks, but it is that little bit slower, so do be careful of that. Ground resistances don't hold this tank back whatsoever, so you don't really have to worry about those. 272 meters of still concealment is nice for the Bulldog, and it should keep it unspotted in quite a few situations, but you are a rather large light tank, and sometimes it can be very easy for you to get spotted, and you can get a bit frustrated with how the camo works. 525 meters of view range, though, is absolutely fantastic, and it really helps this tank to spot for itself really nicely and get yourself these big assistance damage games. You've got a 0.76 accuracy during rotation with a 1.2 accuracy during movement, which is actually pretty good as a pair without a gun stabilizer, meaning the aim circle doesn't bloom out that much at all on this Bulldog, meaning the gun is ready to snap shots left, right and centre, and it is very good at hitting shots on the move by just running the gun perks on the crew. You've got a 1.57 second aim time, which means that it doesn't take it long to aim in anyway if the gun does bloom out a little bit, and that can be an asset for the M41 Walker Bulldog. 10 degrees of gun depression, just like the rest of the line, very flexible on a ridgeline, which can be an asset again for the M41 Walker Bulldog. 0.25 accuracy at 100 meters as well means this gun is very, very accurate, so if you shoot while fully aimed in, you will hit the shot 3/4 of the time, RNG dependent, right? A 2.99 second reload is 3.4k DPM, which is incredible DPM for a tier 8 tank, let alone a light tank, meaning when you get into those positions where you can start to farm, you can farm hard, and it can be very, very nice for the M41 Walker Bulldog, that indeed. We have 175 pen on the standard APDS rounds, which is a little low, with 210 pen on the premium heat rounds and 38mm penetration on the HE rounds. Now, 175mm penetration on the standard APDS rounds is a little low. It's pretty good for a light tank, but it means that if you end up in a tier 10 game with the 210 pen heat rounds, you can really struggle to do any damage because there become quite a few tier 10 tanks that you just can't pen, which can be super duper frustrating for the M41 Walker Bulldog, which is where something like generally any of the other Bulldogs don't suffer quite as much because they have better penetration. 1290 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APDS rounds is very, very nice velocity. It means you don't have to give too much lead at distance to be able to hit your targets, and it makes this gun feel super great. With 975 meters a second shell velocity on the premium heat rounds, you do have to be careful of that as they do feel slightly slower, and it means you have to give a lot more lead at distance to be able to hit your shots in the Bulldog. And like I say, I run the same crew setup as I run all the way up the line, and the same equipment setup as I run on the T71 CMCD. So here in this game, in the Bulldog, on Lakeville, we managed to get 5,558 assistance damage, 189 damage. We've done absolutely no damage, but we've played a blinder of a spotting game so far. Mr. Chisel said, absolutely not, I want your hit points. Thankfully, the Ballsig ends up shutting him down. Now, what I want to do is, when I get unspotted, go try and get back in that bush I was in earlier on, and that way, I should be able to spot the enemy team up and get myself some more assistance damage. So we're just trying to get back into that bush, but as we're on the way, we end up getting spotted. And I was fully shocked that I got spotted there because of the fact that they were outside of my camouflage detection circle. So they caught me out there, and I ended up getting shut down by the Iron Rain. But we still finished with the 189 damage, the 6.2k assistance, the patrol duty there, which is always lovely to get in a scout tank. We just had a general good spotting damage game in the M41 Bulldog in a matchup that really wasn't pleasant for us. So it's always nice to be able to have some sort of impact, and having that impact, you don't always have to do damage to have an impact in a light tank. You can do exactly what we did there in the Bulldog, where we occasionally took some hits, but we took some hits to be able to spot the enemy team, and therefore we ended up getting assistance damage by our team shooting them. So we're on to the Tier 9 tank, and again, one of my loves. I absolutely adore this vehicle. You get 2 guns on the T49. 2 guns indeed. One, which is the 152mm Derp gun, and the 90mm gun. Now, the 90mm gun is the most consistent gun for this vehicle, but to be perfectly honest, the T49 specialty is just using this Derp gun and having an absolute laugh with it, because otherwise it's just another light tank, right? The T49 Derp is just hilarious. You can have so many memes, and we're going to try and do that in this game right here for it. And it's one of those that I always loved playing this vehicle, especially back in the day when it was a Tier 8. That's how I 3-marked it back in the day when it was a Tier 8 with the 152, and you could just have a right laugh, get up behind tanks, and just, when you hit people with that 910 Alpha, and it actually goes in, oh yeah, it's just a true delight, derpgasm, you know? So, the T49, it's got a 65km/h top speed, with a 24km/h reverse speed, 840 horsepower engine, it's 37.08 horsepower per ton ratio. It means you're extremely mobile, you'll hit the top speed really, really easily, and the ground resistances that this vehicle has don't hold it back whatsoever. 20% internal fire chance, once again, high end of fire chances. It does like getting set on fire if you get shot in the back end, so do be careful of that. 48 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed. It means this tank does turn pretty decently quickly on its tracks, and with a 47.78 degree a second turret rotation speed, the turret is just about the same speed as it. Oh no, Mr. Bulldog, this is going to possibly be a painful time for you. So, yeah, this vehicle has the 335 meters of still concealment, because we don't really help the camo out too much. Oh, that looked painful. Sorry, I digress. 335 meters of still concealment on this vehicle, because we've not helped it out with the camo net, we've only helped it out with the crew skills, means it doesn't have the best camo in the universe, and this vehicle does generally get spotted. If you were going to be running the 90mm, you're probably more likely to actually run the camo net, but I've done everything to try and help the gun out, because I don't go and spot quite as often in the T49, I play it more to go derping. 525 meters of view range is absolutely fantastic view range, though, and it means you will spot for yourself very, very easily, because you've got that such good view range, same as you had on the previous vehicle. A 4.9 accuracy during rotation with this 152mm gun, with a 2.22 accuracy during movement. The 4.9 accuracy during rotation is atrocious. The accuracy during movement isn't great. The aim circle becomes huge, huge on this vehicle, as you're seeing there. And with a 2.92 second aim time, it takes a wee while to get this gun aimed in, and it likes derping. But it is a derp gun, so it's got to be expected of the T49. 10 degrees of gun depression is lovely for this vehicle. Again, this tank does like to go sit on a ridgeline, and it can use it very effectively, like you've already seen. We've got 0.49 accuracy at 100 meters, which again means this gun can be pretty derpy, but it still likes petting shots like that. Oh yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So yeah, this tank can be pretty derpy, but again, it's in the name, derp gun. It's got an 18.64 second reload, which is 2.9k DPM, but that's only counting if you actually pen the HE, so it doesn't really have the best DPM in the universe, but again, derp gun. It's got 76mm of penetration on the standard HE, 152mm of penetration on the standard heat rounds, and then 85mm of penetration on the premium HE. Now, I load full premium HE because memes, that extra 9mm of penetration is a massive difference. The extra splash radius, which is 5.11 as opposed to 3.66 on the standard, is also a huge thing because when it splashes, it's going to do more damage. 1,033? Oh boy. Anyway, you've got 683 meters a second shell velocity on every round on this gun, which means it's extremely derpy once again and can be pure pain. Like I say, you really have to give a lot of lead. You have to know what you're doing with this derp gun to get the most out of it, but when it does work, it can be so hilarious and so much fun, which is why I fully recommend doing this with this tank generally. So in terms of equipment for this vehicle, I run the optics, the GLD, and the gun stabilizer. Gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during movement and rotation down as low as I possibly can do. The GLD to get the best aim time I can get out of this vehicle, and the optics so I can at least spot myself really, really well in the T49 and play that light tank role when I want to. Now, I run the GLD because the aim time is atrocious. I run the gun stabilizer because the accuracy during rotation and movement is atrocious. So I try and help it out as much as I humanly can do in the T49 so that it doesn't take me quite as long to get this gun aimed in and then just go derping and have that hilarious derp fun that we can have in Mr. T49. Which is what we've done in this game. We've managed to get 4.3k damage so far with 934 assistance. And we've just penned things left, right, and centre. We did the Type 59, we did the Centurion, the Artillery, the M41 Bulldog, and it's just where this gun can be so hilarious and it's beautiful. But the thing is, you don't have to pen things with this HE. You can just derp, which is what we're doing against this KV4. And that is we're trying to blow his tracks off because it will give us a bit more assistance damage, but it also means we can do 200 to 300 damage with the splashes, and that's what you want to be doing. And the T49 is just a barrel of laughs, and it's one of those vehicles that can be a hell of a lot of fun. I'd say the 90mm gun is probably the one that most people will do okay with, but the T49's 152mm gun is the specialty of the vehicle, and it's the one that is going to be the most fun to play on this tank if you can get the unwieldy derp gun to work properly. So now we're on to the last tank in the line, the tier 10, the pinnacle of the line, the XM551 Sheridan. Now the Sheridan has two guns to pick from. It's got the 152mm derp gun that you used on the T49, and it's got the 105mm gun, which is definitely the gun that most people will pick to play because it's probably the best gun for the tank. And if you want to play this derp gun light tank, you can just go play the T49. You'll probably have a better time of it. But the Sheridan is still a lot of fun to play. It's more of a pseudo-medium tank than it is a true scout tank. If you play it like a proper scout tank, it's not going to go well all the time. And you're probably better off just running the 105 and playing it more like a medium than a light tank, right? But yeah, the Sheridan, we're going to see the first replay with the 152 and the second replay with the 105. And the Sheridan has a 65km/h top speed with a 22km/h reverse speed, 650 horsepower engine, which means we have a 43.1 horsepower per ton ratio, extremely mobile vehicle. It hits the top speed really easily. There is no sluggishness in this tank whatsoever, and it is genuinely quite lovely. Oh, what a pen. Beautiful. We've got a 12% internal fire chance, which is on the low end of fire chances for the Sheridan, and that's one of the nice things compared to the previous ones. But again, it's one of those that feels a bit like a lie, because this does like getting set on fire quite often, which can be frustrating. Ground resistances don't hold the tank back whatsoever. 55 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means this tank does turn very, very fast on its tracks, and it is one of those that does turn super quickly. You've got 52.13 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed, which is slower than the tracks, so do bear that in mind when you're trying to keep the gun on target. Oh no, we penned that. Oh, dirt field. Oh yeah. Anyway, we got 320 meters of steel concealment, which is not the best concealment in the universe for a tier 10 light tank, and means this tank does like getting spotted quite easily, and that is because we've not run the camo net on this vehicle. We're running the gun stabilizer because both guns are pretty awful if you don't help them. You got 537 meters of view range, which is absolutely amazing, and means this tank spots for itself incredibly well. And again, you can get very big spotting damage games because you do value people's camos very well, and you can just spot people at great distances. But naturally, a lot of tanks will spot you because your camo isn't the best for a tier 10 light tank at 320. And now we're on to the 152mm gun, which has 10 degrees of gun depression, same as the 105mm gun. You've got a 3.38 meters of accuracy during rotation, and that was another pen. Oh, yeah. We've got 1.78 accuracy during movement, which for a derp gun is really good, but the accuracy during rotation is atrocious, which means the aim circle does become rather large. We've got 2.76 second aim time, which means it does take it a wee bit to get aimed in as well, as you can see. But when you do get it aimed in, oh, it can be beautiful when it pens like that. Oh, that poor T-54E1. But yeah, it actually has pretty decent stats for a derp gun in terms of the accuracy during rotation and movement. 2.76 second aim time means it does take a wee bit to get it aimed in, but it doesn't feel horrific for this kind of derp gun. You've got a 0.39 accuracy at 100 meters again, which is actually pretty accurate for a derp gun, so we'll take that. And it makes the derp gun on this tank actually feel pretty damn nice to use in general, and way better than the T-49's derp gun. But like I say, tier for tier, the T-49's derp gun can be a lot nicer to use. You've got a 14.08 second reload, which is 3.8k DPM, but you don't really pay attention to the DPM for a derp gun because naturally it doesn't pen the HE all the time, so it doesn't use that DPM. Same penetration as the T-49, 76 on the standard HE, 152 on the heat rounds, 85 on the premium HE rounds, 683 meters a second shot velocity on the, well, all three rounds, which means it's very, very derpy. You have to give a lot of lead at distance to be able to hit your shots with this 152mm derp gun, which, yeah, can be a bit annoying at times as it does like to derp shots into the floor. But I carry full prem HE, like I say, because it's got that 5.11 meters of splash, which means that, again, when it hits spots on tanks, generally, it will splash over a bigger radius of the vehicle, meaning you actually do more damage. So when people say, is it worth taking a shell, that has more splash damage than another shell? Well, yes, in terms of HE, because it means you'll actually do more damage in the splash damage, which is why we run it. And also, 85mm of penetration, 9mm of pen is actually quite a big difference depending on the plates you're going to be shooting at and trying to pen as well. But yeah, the 152mm derp gun, it is a hilarious gun to use on this tank. As you've already seen, you can get some absolute memes off with it. But realistically, you're probably going to use the 105, as that is also an absolutely fabulous gun on this tank, except for it's just a bit derpy. And if you want to use the 152mm derp gun, you can use either the Tusk or the T-49 at tier 9. Now, we get extremely lucky there, by the way. That guy was like, hello, I'm ready. And we didn't even aim that very well, and we still managed to kill him, which is lovely. But we've had a very nice game here with the 4.7k damage, and we've hit some beautiful shots. Also, I forgot to mention, with the Sheridan, we do run loader, stabs, and optics. Optics to be able to get that amazing view range. The stabs, because both guns are very, very derpy, so we want to help them out as much as humanly possible with the extra during rotation and movement. And the advanced loader to get the best out of the reload so that we can keep derping away very, very consistently. Now, again, with the derp gun, you could quite happily drop the advanced loader and run the camo net to be able to get your camo down to 281 meters of still concealment, and that will help you stay unspotted a lot easier in the Sheridan. It's probably the best thing to do for the derp gun build, but if you run the 105mm gun, you definitely want to be running the advanced loader, as you'll be playing it more like a medium tank than a light tank, and the best DPM you can get out of the tank is what you want to be doing. So as you've seen so far in this game, like I say, we've managed to get up to 5,044 damage, 698 assistance damage. We've had some absolute filthy pens, and that's where the derp gun is very nice against something like that Jagdpanzer, because we didn't have to really worry about penning the Jagdpanzer. We just kept shooting at his tracks to blow his tracks off in the hope that people will shoot him and give us assistance damage. Now, one thing you can do with this derp gun and with every other derp gun is if you come against something that's as heavily armoured as a Jagdpanzer, you can shoot underneath it, and if you hit the track underneath the vehicle, you'll splash a big radius underneath the tank where the weakest armour is, and you'll actually do more damage in that way as well. So it's something that you can aim for. So you saw us pen the 261, we're up to 5.8k damage, and there's one vehicle left. It's Mr. Waffle E100, and I want that Waffle, because, you know, T-49... the Sheridan with the derp gun, it likes munching Waffle E100s, it likes munching 4005s, because they are lightly armoured targets and you can go through them. I mean, I don't know how we penned the T-49, we must have hit his engine deck because it was angled at such an angle, but the shot that went through the Sheridan was lovely, and the shot that went into the T-54E1 as well, both shots were just, oh, filth. And that's the kind of derp gun game that you sit there going, oh, that was beautiful, I loved every second of it, because, oh, derpers love derpers life. It had to be said in this game at some point, right? So, we finished with the Ace Tanker, the 1780 base XP, the 6.1k damage, a really nice game there for the XM551 Sheridan with the Derp gun, which, like I say, is probably not the best way to run the tank, but it can be hilarious. And we're on to the second replay, which is now using the super serious 105mm gun. And this 105mm gun has a 0.42 accuracy during rotation, which is really good. With a 1.33 accuracy during movement, that is also really good. It means the aim circle doesn't bloom out much at all, but we have had to help it out with the crew skills and the equipment to be able to get it there so that we can keep this gun as accurate as possible and keep the shots flying in. You've got 1.47 second aim time as well, which means that this gun aims in supremely quickly too, which is also lovely. And means that, as you can see, it just means you're always ready to snap shots and keep the shots flowing out of this tank, which is where you can use the pretty damn good DPM that this tank has as well. As you've got 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters, again, means when it's fully aimed, it's pretty accurate. A 6.49 second reload is 3.6k DPM. Which is absolutely fantastic for a tier 10 light tank, and it means that this vehicle farms very, very hard, and is where I say it's more like a pseudo medium than an actual scout, because you can just play it like a medium tank and you can farm up the enemy team pretty easily. The one thing that does struggle in that regard, compared to obviously the normal medium tanks, is the fact that you are a light tank, so you have not the best penetration in the universe, and that is 236 penetration on the standard APDS rounds, and 280 penetration on the premium heat rounds, with 53mm of penetration on the HE, for that 390 alpha. 1200 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APDS rounds is actually pretty decent as well, meaning you don't have to give too much lead at distance to be able to hit your shots, but it's not amazing, but it's still pretty good. 900 meters a second shell velocity on the premium heat rounds is below average by 100 meters a second, and it means you have to give a lot of lead at distance to be able to hit your targets with that round, and it means you'll feel a massive difference in the gun handling between the two rounds, as well as it is a hell of a lot slower. And the HE, by the way, is 700 meters a second shell velocity, so it's even derpier. But here on this game, here on Lakeville, we've managed to get 1605 damage so far, with 456 assistance damage. We sadly bounce on the T62A in the middle, but we're just trying to keep our gun in the game and trying to support our team as they push through the town if we can do it. But what I'm starting to think is, okay, they've got quite a few tanks in that town area now. We have amazing view range at 537. I'm going to push aggressively and try and get into a position to spot anyone along the A-line, and then maybe get up behind those medium tanks. But as we push, we find a M46 pattern KR. We managed to get a cheeky shot into the Progetto as well, and there's now this Fraternite here who's attacking my UDES friend. So we've come to help the UDES out so that he is not alone in this endeavour. We get another shot into the Fraternite who manages to miss us while backing off, and you know what? I'm going to put the hurt into this Fraternite and we're going to get rid of him. And now I can use this rock on my right hand side to stay covered from the TDs and the medium tanks and whatever else is spotted down at A7, or say spotted, whatever else is at A6, A7, and we can stay safe around this corner and not take hits. Now you've seen me bounce a shot in the Sheridan, and the fact is the Sheridan can actually bounce shots. And the reason is that the box on the hull, it's got a big sticky outy bit at the back where there's no actual tank in the back of the Sheridan, which means it's just pure spaced armour. So you can bait shots and bounce shots off the rear of this vehicle quite often, and you might be sitting there going, how did I bounce? And it's because, well, there is actually no tank in the back end of this vehicle at times. It's just spaced armour, so you do be careful of that when you're shooting at it. You can see exactly where that marker is there. There is no tank behind where that marker is. But yeah, we're up to 4.7k damage so far with 1479 assistance, and we're just trying to push in to get behind the rest of the enemy team, as there is 4 tanks left and the artillery. The Type 5 Heavy was looking at us, and I decided, nope, I don't want to take that Derp gun from him. He could just kill me in one shot. If he shoots me in the turret, I don't want it. But we've loaded the heat rounds because, well, we need the heat rounds to go through the Type 5 Heavy. We're not going to go through a Type 5 Heavy with the APDS rounds. With the heat rounds loaded, we go straight through the superstructure of the Sturm Tiger P, securing our 3rd kill of this game for 5.4k damage. And that Type 5 Heavy is still locked in, so we're just trying to keep snapping the shots into his little capillary thing on top, as that's the place we're probably going to be able to pen this guy. The IS-32 goes YOLOing in, which means it distracts the Type 5 Heavy. We go for the shot onto the the cheek spot there, but actually the cheeks are the same as the front, so we were never going to pen it with 280 pen. So we just keep going back to the old tried and tested method of shooting this cupola, which, yeah, we're still bouncing the occasional shot on, and I decided, okay, you know what, screw it. Rather than just chancing bouncing shots on that cupola, we're just going to load the APDS rounds, get round his side, and make it to a point where we can easily pen him. We're up to 6.6k damage now with that 1500 assistance, with 2 tanks left, and we know exactly where they are around this corner. So we're going to try and go after the T92, but once again, we want to be careful because that guy could just splash us and kill us, or should I say, if he hits us, he could kill us. But thankfully, he splashes and doesn't end up finishing us off, so we put a shot into him. He's about to get finished off by my team, though, as we're not going to quite reload in time as the Murat finishes him off. But we finished the game with a really nice total there for the XM551 Sheridan with the 105mm gun, and we finished with the victory, 3 kills, 7,000 damage, 1665 base XP. A great game there for what is a pretty damn solid pseudo-medium of a light tank in the Sheridan. Like I say, it's not the true out-and-out scout tank. It's more of a tank that you play more like a medium tank and you'll get the best out of it. But you can have some filthy memes as well if you run the 152mm gun, as that is hilarious to use. Same as it is on the T49. But yeah, that's the pinnacle of the line. That's the finish of the on-track series video for the Sheridan, which is, like I say, a tank that can be quite enjoyable. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!